Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, welcome along to the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League here on the PS4. This is the 20th season and the 12th round takes us to the British Grand Prix, so expect to have some umbrellas on the sea for that typical beautiful British weather. My name is Kieran McGinley, and joining alongside me in the commentary box for tonight's proceedings is the fantastic Mr. Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing tonight?
I'm very well, thanks, Kieran. Good evening to you. Good evening to everyone that is watching. Should be an interesting race tonight at Silverstone. It's a track that the drivers all enjoy. It's got that high-speed, challenging nature. Punishes you for making any mistakes. Not the easiest, really, though, to overtake on. So qualifying, very important. And as you mentioned, weather always plays a factor.
And of course, we go to the home of Formula One, and it's a great place to come back to, Silverstone. Originally 8 corners on the 1950 layout when the drivers set foot around here for the first ever time. Now gone up to 18 corners, including a brand new clubhouse that was installed in around about 2012-2013, including one race where it was on the old circuit layout, but the new paddock was there waiting to be used for the very first time. It was used for the first time in 2013. Now we come back to the British Grand Prix, and it's as good as ever, and of course the weather always plays a factor going in towards Silverstone. You've still got the legendary corner like the old turn 1 Copse corner, that flying right-hander begging you, daring you to take as much speed through there as possible. And even with the higher aero that these cars possess nowadays, it's still a terrifying corner to go around there in the race trim. So we're looking forward to this, of course, as well. Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel down then the hanger straight towards Stowe, where we saw Nigel Mansell make a pass around the outside. We've seen plenty of moves going into league racing going through there. Will we see one of those moves tonight? Club corner, obviously, used to be in the middle of the track before you headed away towards Bridge. Now it's the final corner of the track before you turn right and head through Abbey and Farm corners. Luke, I could go on all day about the history of Silverstone. I really could. You'll have to stop me at some point. But so many legendary corners around here. And even with the new updates that the Silverstone track has had in the last decade, it's still just as good as ever to visit here.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the classic tracks on the calendar. It's amazing to think that even though there has been a British Grand Prix every single season of the Formula One Championship, we've had the British Grand Prix going to Brands Hatch, we had it going to Aintree, so Silverstone hasn't always been on the calendar. It's always retained that high-speed nature. In fact, I believe this variation of the track is probably the slowest one they've had, and it's not exactly slow whatsoever. As I mentioned earlier, overtaking not the easiest just because you don't really have many heavy braking zones, especially at the end of the DRS straights, at the end of the Wellington straight going into Brooklands, and then at the end of the Hanger straight going into Stowe. We've seen some classic races here over the years. Mansell against PK in the 80s, Lewis Hamilton, that fantastic wet weather victory. It always seems to deliver, and hopefully tonight will be no different, and hopefully we'll see some really good racing as well. Giel making a return. He was in the lead of the championship, and after Domi took that win last time out in Austria, he's no longer leading. Yeah,
and that's going to be the huge story, isn't it, as we head in towards that British Grand Prix. And speaking of which, we should probably try and take you and try and explain you through the championship standings as they are right now. So brace yourselves, because this one is going to be a good one for the Italian of Domi, because he currently leads the championship 160 points compared to Giel, who's on 145. 15 points the gap between the two championship leaders. Then it is Blizzard in third place in the championship with 37 points behind, and it's a little bit down the order where you find Aero in the Racing Point, 89 points for Aero. Then it's Parnell in fifth place, 88 points. Dario in sixth place with those 82 points. Gamer, Lee Finley, Surface and Johan round out the top 10. And of course, coming towards the British Grand Prix, you would expect the British drivers to have pride coming in there. We're talking Blizzard, we're talking Gamer, we're talking about Caden Forbes. 3 British drivers on the grid looking to try and get a good result. Don't forget as well, Lee Finley, the Scotsman, also here at the British Grand Prix. Whether he considered this his home Grand Prix is yet to be found out. However, we are here at the British Grand Prix. But of course, before we start tonight's proceedings, of course, all our best wishes go out to Romain Grosjean after that terrifying crash he had at the Bahrain Grand Prix today. The latest news is that he is being treated for those minor burns on his hands and of course the fractured rib, the suspected one. That's all the news we have at the moment. He is being treated in Bahrain as we speak, and we wish him all the best in his recovery as well. So our thoughts are with Romain at this time. Luke, heading towards the British Grand Prix, can we hype this up anymore?
My mind's still with thinking that we need a British Grand Prix at Knock Hill so Lee Findlay can have a proper home race. I mean, imagine 20 Formula 1 cars trying to squeeze their way around Knock Hill. But yeah, we've hyped this up quite enough. It's now time for the 15 drivers we've got here tonight to live up to that hype. See how they do. 18 minutes of qualifying, 26 lap race. It should be fun. Can Blizzard get a third pole position in the row? That's what he will be aiming for. He's had 5 pole positions so far this season, more than anyone else. Only finds himself third in the championship.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those races where you need to be on your toes all the way through. We now count down and head towards the British Grand Prix. And of course, here at Silverstone, the very first race in Silverstone was the, well, I should say the very first race in Formula One's championship history was here in 1950 at Silverstone. Back then, Maggots and Beckett's looked a lot different to what it does nowadays. Now it's a high-speed section. Before, it really was more than a 90-degree right-hander that took you then back towards Chapel and then down the hangar straight. But it still retained that character, and it's really one of those races, as a spectator, Silverstone, you need to go to. Isn't that right, Luke?
Yeah, definitely. It's I'm hoping to get there hopefully sooner rather than later. I mean, obviously, strange seeing Silverstone without any fans this year. Not so strange seeing Silverstone with absolutely horrendous conditions. A second wet qualifying in a row then, and I wonder, is it's looking like it's wet tyres at the moment. I wonder if we're going to have a similar situation to last week where we had the crossover right at the last minute and we saw quite a mixed up grid.
Yeah, that was a bizarre qualifying, wasn't it? But it really did keep the drivers on their toes as they made their way through. Wet tyres are on most of the cars. The only reason why I say most of is because Sam Gamer is chancing the intermediates. But no cars out on track at the moment as we just await for somebody to fire up the engine and get out on track. This kind of leads me to believe that maybe there's a chance the conditions will improve. There's some movement down at the AlphaTauri garage, so that could be Gil. He's the only AlphaTauri out there at the moment out on track, but he's making his way down the pit lane now. And the most painful part about this pit lane, Luke, is how slow you have to be on that limiter. This is one of the worst places to take a pit stop, isn't it?
Yes, it's a one-stop strategy. No other way of putting it. You've got to make the one-stop strategy work just because of how long the pit lane is. Because you skip Vale and Club, the pit lane limiter starts ridiculously early, and it's such a slow pit lane as well. So don't be surprised if we do see drivers picking up penalties for speeding, which obviously could cost them. If there is any late safety cars, we've seen one in rear left one. We could always see one here tonight. Very tricky, like you said, pit lane entry, just to make sure you don't get the speeding right. And quite often, as Gale's heading around Luffield as well, if we see a few cars battling, sometimes you see a few cars heading towards the old pit lane, the national pit lane. Hopefully people will be avoiding that today, but the nature of that section, all the way from Brooklands, pretty much all the way up to Corps, quite often you see cars going too wide all the way through there, and sometimes it ends in contact. Hopefully though, the best on PS4 can keep it nice and clean for us.
Well, let's find out then, as Gil right now second in the championship, not starting the previous race, so he'll be wanting to try and get back on track and get his championship charge back on track as well. His championship rival Domi currently out there on an outlap. Sam Gamer, although he's got the intermediates on his car, hasn't ventured out onto the track just yet. Maybe he's waiting, willing for the rain to let up. Someone should page him. It's Silverstone. It's not likely to get any better than it is right now. But we'll see. Those clouds look very menacing. Here goes Gil then, making his way through Vale and then towards that club corner section as he now makes his way for a lap around Silverstone. A soggy Silverstone track. Tiptoeing your way through that final corner and onwards now towards the very first corner. You used to turn left here, now you go right through Abbey and then over the crest through Farm as you now make your way towards that village corner, braking hard for the right-hander. Try and use that line all the way through as you head away through the loop. Slowest corner on the track, you've got to make sure you get that traction down. You see Gil going up the gears as he makes his way through Aintree just to make sure he minimises the wheel spin as much as possible. Now heading our way down the Wellington Straight and towards Brooklands. Flying left-hander here, bit of a lock-up there. It's easy to do in these slippery conditions as we now make our way through the right-hander of Luffield. We've seen two different lines taken through Luffield. You can stay tight to the curb as Gill has done, or you can run wide and focus on the exit of the corner as you now fly your way through Woodcote and towards the old turn 1. Copse corner, still just as terrifying. Drop a gear in these wet conditions to try and keep the car in balance as you now make your way over that slight crest, over the slight hill and towards Maggott and Beckett. A flying section here. It's a shame we can't see these qualifying trim cars going around a dry circuit, but that is because that's just such an amazing force that goes through the car there as you now make your way through Chapel and now down at the hangar straight. Plenty of time to think about how you're going to tackle Stowe here. Braking hard in towards the right-hander. Try and keep it tight to the curve. You can use a little bit of curve on the exit, but not too much. Oh, as that's a huge tailspin there from Gill as he now makes his way in towards Vale. Bit of a lock-up on entry. Standard stuff in the wet conditions, but now we make our way through that club corner section and that little bit of curb there, avoid that one. Heading in towards the start finish line, that's a lap of Silverstone, a very soggy Silverstone circuit. 37.7 is the first time on the board.
Not a bad time really, considering the conditions. I'm just going on board with Gamer at the moment. His teammate up ahead, Caden Forbes, is also on the intermediate, so it might be interesting to see what sort of lap these are doing. And there we go, Blizzard. 137.227. We're at that crossover point, so a few of these drivers aren't really sure what tyres to go for. It looks as though the intermediates are ever so slightly the quickest, but maybe, just maybe, those wets give you a bit more stability and you don't want to end up in the barriers. It is quite open at Silverstone, but especially coming out of Copse, it is very easy just to get a bit of oversteer and end up in the wall. Does look though intermediates have the slight pace advantage at the moment, but if that does change to go towards the wet tyres, of course, chances are Blizzard's time isn't going to get beaten. If it gets drier, it could be like last time out, where if you're the last person across the line, you've got the best possible opportunity of being on pole.
That is Sam Gamer on the raggedy edge as he made his way through Chapel there. No remorse for how much grip he had or how much he didn't have heading through there. Sam Gamer lighting up the rear tyres on the exit of Stowe, now making our way in towards Vale once again, and you can see how little grip there is out there, even on these intermediate tyres, even on the full wet tyres. We now make our way around the final corner and onwards now towards that start finish line. Sam Gamer puts it onto the second row of the grid. 37.337, just over 1/10 slower than Blizzard's best time so far. Oh, a big fish tail there as he made his way in through Farm there, but managing to keep it up. I think Sam Gamer's having a lot of fun in these conditions. I don't know why I think that though.
Oh, he's either loving it or hating it. It's sort of Marmite conditions at the moment for most of these drivers. To be honest, I'm not too surprised to see him doing fairly well in qualifying, Sam Gamer. He's done fairly well in a few of these qualifying sessions. He just seems to struggle a bit in the race and picks up the odd few penalties. He did actually have a 10th place in Canada taken off him for a penalty he received in the Stewards, but yet to score any points. With there only being 15 drivers tonight, it is going to be a good opportunity for him. This qualifying could be a good opportunity to get a pole position if he can keep it out of the barriers, because it does look as though he's sliding around a bit more than some of the others.
Yeah, that speedster across the line to start a new flying lap. And of course, in these wet conditions, the wet tyres can displace up to about 70 litres of water per second. So it's the perfect tyre to get that water off the racing line. But when you get to the intermediates, they can only do around 20 to 25 litres a second. So it's a stark difference between the two tyres. You really have to use the intermediate conditions for when it's just getting to that point where the track's not quite good enough for slick tyres, where it doesn't give you the grip, but the wet tyres will just overheat on those conditions. And the rain is still chucking it down, but it's intermediate conditions. So yeah, I'm completely stumped at this point, because Blizzard's proven that the difference between himself and Gill, both on the different tyres, is around about half a second.
I mean, we saw at the Turkish Grand Prix, the intermediates are pretty much catch-all tyre. They can go on until it's fairly dry. They can cope with fairly wet conditions, as long as there's not a lot of standing water around the circuit. And to be fair, on the racing line, there isn't. If you get yourself off the racing line, you could find yourself in all heaps of trouble. I think I'd be going for the intermediate tyres at the moment. I mean, whether I'd have any success of keeping it out the wall, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't be quick, but There we go, and Blizzard again, 136.357, nearly a full second faster than anyone else. There's no debate which is the tyres to be on.
Wow, absolutely fantastic there. Gamer across the line, 36.9 from the Red Bull driver as we see more lap times coming down. Is that Aero making his way? Yes, it is, towards Vale. That Speedster making his way towards the line, fishtailing over it. He would have gone a second quicker, but he invalidated his lap time as he headed across the line. Here comes Aero coming around the final corner. Now, he's got a new setup. It's got delivered today. He said he might be off the pace today. Well, 38.2 from him so far is just quicker than our championship leader, who currently sits in 10th place.
The new setup seems to be working well. I'm sure he's been practicing as much as possible for this. And maybe that's just helped slightly. Having to change something makes you think, well, I suppose probably spend a bit of time getting used to it as he drifts his way around the loop. At the moment, he's in 10th place on those wet tyres, 4th fastest of the drivers on the wets. Will we see them come into the pit soon and maybe put on the intermediates? I think they're going to have to. Domi is doing at the moment, and he did set his time on the wets earlier. So I think this is going to be... Well, actually, no, Gill's going to be the first person that we're really going to get to see how much better they can do on a set of intermediates compared to the wets. And Gill's gone completely off at Abbey, so it won't be this lap where we see the Frenchman improve.
No, absolutely not. That car just did not want to grip as he made his way through Farm there. It handled Abbey okay, but then when it came to Farm, it's almost as if there was just a bit of aquaplaning where the tyres just couldn't find enough grip out on track. For that off-track excursion, Gill has had his lap time invalidated. But as we head through, obviously the rain is still at the same pace and the same intensity as it was at the start of qualifying just 10 minutes ago. Is there a chance, Luke, that the track started off as intermediates, but it was heavy rain, and now we're getting into a point where maybe it's the wet tyres that the tyres to be on? It's a hugely interesting scenario. We've had two qualifying in a row now this season where rain has played a full factor in how tonight's proceedings could go.
It could very well be the case. I mean, we might have to see how Dario and Domi do at the moment. It does look like they're both improving ever so slightly. It's definitely borderline, and maybe just Gill starting out on the wet tyres and then going on to a set of the intermediates. Maybe not making slight changes in setups to cope with the fact that it'll be a lot more oversteery. And like you said, maybe it was just a plain driver error and we're looking too far into this. But Domi's just gone a second faster than his previous best. I think it is still intermediate conditions for now, but you want to be out on track just in case it changes one way or the other.
Yeah, 7.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session, and Blizzard, as you can see, leads by a substantial amount in these tricky conditions. It is absolutely pelting it down on the track, yet the intermediates are the tyres of choice at this moment in time. Dario tiptoes his way around the final couple of corners, a bit of opposite look then as he made his way through that club corner section, and now onto the second row of the grid for the McLaren driver. 37.2 from him. There's a Williams coming across the line. It's Parnell who goes 36.4, so the Williams boys are absolutely flying right now.
Yes, and they've been flying all season. They are leading the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Williams on 211 points. Haas, thanks in part to Domi's victory last time out, have moved their way up to second on 173, and then you've got Alpha Tauri on 169. But Blizzard had that run of form where he seemed to be struggling ever so slightly, and to be honest, since his win at Monaco in intermediate conditions at the start of the race, definitely, and throughout, Liam's had a bit of bad luck and a bit of misfortune. He had a very strange crash last time out in Austria. Remember me and you discussing how we thought he'd lost it. We thought he'd had contact with another car, but he just seemed to get a very late snap of oversteer through the final turn at Austria, and then, as you're correct, it sent him the other way into the barrier on the outside. He's only had 9 points in the last 4 races, and for a driver of his calibre, he'd have been hoping for some more. So starting second on the grid would be a big help for him tonight.
Absolutely, and hopefully he'll be able to bounce back for him and for Williams, because they do need him to try and drive on in this Constructors' title bout. Domi, meanwhile, leader of the championship, invalidated his last lap time. He's coming back into the pits to get a new set of intermediate tyres on, trying to slow down for the line as best as he possibly can. Dario, meanwhile, makes his way through Vale and now on towards this club corner section, tiptoeing your way through. That back end does not want to stick around as you tiptoe through the last corner. Dario goes quickest, 36.2. The track is evolving, the track is improving, and Dario has become the beneficiary on that one. Blizzard's just started a new flying lap.
Yeah, Blizzard, a new flying lap, a fresh set of intermediate tyres as well. This could definitely be something to watch from the Williams driver. Have we got anyone else heading towards the end of the lap at the moment. There's quite a few out on track on outlaps. Sam Gamer looks as though he's actually made a mistake coming through Luffield and Woodcut on those intermediate tyres. No damage done to his car, but he will be able to carry on. And Blizzard, he looks to be going pretty quick at the moment. We'll see what his time is at the Sector 1 point. 2 tenths up on his personal best. Could well be the first man into the 135s.
He could be, you know, as we're seeing Blizzard making his way, tiptoeing his way through Luffield and on towards Woodcut and towards that legendary right-hander of Copse Corner, just trying to get the shortest run possible on towards Copse Corner. Let's ride aboard with Blizzard, down to 6th for Blizzard as he makes his way through, just to make sure that the tyres don't, or they do, I should say, have enough grip through now. We go in towards Maggots, then towards Beckett's, and trying to get it millimetrically perfect. But unfortunately for Blizzard, he's invalidated that lap time with that excursion at the inside of Beckett's there. So this lap will not count.
No, such a shame for him. All about them fine margins around this circuit. As on board with Gamer, he looks to have won a bit wide, actually, coming through Chapel. He's 7 tenths up on his personal best at the moment. Gill, now the fastest man out on circuit, 136.034. Despite the heavy rain, the track doesn't seem to really be getting any wetter, as Gamer's had another huge slide through Stowe and quickly comes into the pits. I'm not sure whether that's going to be for new tyres or new underpants after that one.
Probably both just to be sure. We've got Caden Forbes, who's now gone up to 3rd place with that latest lap time of 136.3. That puts him onto the 2nd row of the grid in front of his home crowd as he now makes his way on towards the right-hander there of Village. We're just seeing now there's a racing point heading towards the line. It's going to be Speedster who gets across the line up to 10th place now. The Renault behind him, who I believe was Surface, gets now up to 5th place with a 36.4.
That's how much the track is improving. Williams were 1-2 only a couple of minutes ago, and now look at them, 4 and 6, both sat in the pits. I've been wanting to head out on track fairly soon. Dezo works his way up into 10th place, and something we haven't really spoke about here is normally if you're in the top 10 you have to start on the tyres that you qualified on. Same as last week, everyone is going to get a fresh choice of tyres, so the alternate strategy doesn't really have the same power as it does at some other circuits around Silverstone, but it will definitely help those starting in the top 10 knowing that they can start on some fresh rubber. So I'm currently just seeing Johan come around the final couple of corners. Got a podium last time out, and he'll be hoping to carry on that form. Moves himself up to 10th.
Yeah, and that's a 9 tenths improvement on his previous lap time. So the intermediates are the tyres to be on. Everybody is on them now. There's an AlphaTauri that's just crossed the line. There's also a Renault coming towards the line. That's going to be Suku, currently 38.0, but that was not a representative lap time. He'll have to go again with only 2 minutes on the clock then. It really is crunch time. Don't expect many drivers to leave this to 1 lap. It looks like Caden Forbes, Blizzard, Parnell, who's just emerging from the pit lane now to try and get out there. But normally with these intermediate conditions, you just want to put as many lap times down as you can, because as the track improves, your lap times get quicker and quicker. I mean, maybe it's just me, Luke, but I always find that 1 or 2 laps on the intermediates is a good call. 3 laps is probably the best call. But then again, that might just be me. Surface all the way up to now 2nd place, front row of the grid now for the Renault driver. But as Luke said, it's probably going to be a case of last across the line before the checkered flag flies. Could have the best chance of getting that pole position. Sam Gamer on an outlap, currently invalidated the outlap, so that's not a problem for him. Deso, meanwhile, makes his way on towards the start-finish line. Can he find an improvement? No, because he's actually on an outlap of sorts. He now flies his way onwards towards Farm and Abbey, not in that order, of course.
Yeah, he's trying desperately to move himself up the order at the moment. Johan has invalidated Suku, setting a better time than his personal best at the moment, but he's sort of on his own in the 138.0, so you have to wonder, is that pure pace, or has he gone for a more full dry strategy perhaps, expecting that the race is going to be fully dry and sacrificing his qualifying? We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be pretty cramped between the 2 Williams drivers. CRG Gamer as well. Gill looks as though he might try to get another lap in, but I think 6 lap old intermediates, it's just going to be a bit of a struggle, and Suku in the end moving up to 11th.
Yep, Suku up to 11th, and of course Kugino now up to 4th place in the Ferrari. Plenty of cars coming across the line to start their final flying laps of the session as Gil has retired. He was in the pit lane. He set a 35.7 to put himself at the top of the standings and said, you know what, I'm pretty happy with that. I'd be pretty happy with that too. Blizzard, meanwhile, he was top of the standings by quite some margin. Now he's got it all to do now. He's got one more lap to try and take away pole position in this one. Surface retires. He feels that's enough. Domi, meanwhile, is on a flying lap. He's 200ths up through the first sector as he now makes his way through that Maggot to Beckett's complex section in towards Chapel. The rear tyres spinning up as he tries to keep hanging on to the grip. 2/10 up from Domi. This could be a chance for him to try and grab pole position. He now flies his way in towards Stowe Corner as the checkered flag flies. We've got Caden Forbes who's finished up in 6th place. Deso will start outside the top 10, currently in 13th place. Sam Gamer goes up to 6th place onto the third row of the grid. 36.329 from Sam Gamer. Aero now up to 4th place is his new rig. How about Domi? What can he do as he crosses the line? Well, he does improve by 0.02 of a second, but it's not enough to get him up the order. How about now? Well, Parnell will not be able to improve. He's invalidated his lap time. We've got a Ferrari making his way towards the line. It's Johan making his way through that club corner section onwards towards the start-finish line. 6th place for Johan, just behind his teammate. We've got a yellow flag in that final corner, and I think it was for Suku there, but he's managed to gather it up. 8th place. Well, I don't know what the yellow flag was for. Maybe to warn drivers that that was going to be a good lap from the Renault driver. He now puts himself up to 8th place. Blizzard, meanwhile, is making his way, tiptoeing his way through the club corner section and now onwards towards the start finish line. Gamer going top of the table, 35.4. How about Blizzard? He's out qualified by Gamer in the Red Bull there. Fantastic lap time from Gamer. Dario, invalid lap time. He spins his way across the line, doing it in style. Speedster, the American, also invalidates his lap time, so he will not be able to improve. And as qualifying comes to an end, it is Gamer who puts himself on pole position for the British Grand Prix. Great lap time from the Red Bull driver.
Absolutely fantastic lap, taking it at the death, and his Comrade Gaming sidekick Blizzard alongside him, second on the grid. It's the second pole position of the year for Gamer. He's yet to get a win. 2 second places being his best last time out in Austria and in Monaco, and I don't think you can get 2 more different tracks maybe to set pole position on than Monaco and Silverstone. Gamer's done that. Blizzard in 3rd, top 2 in the championship, 3rd and 4th. Gil looking to catch back up to Domi.
Yeah, and it's going to be looking like a good race, isn't it? I mean, don't forget as well, Aero's on a new rig. He only got the rig today. He's managed to qualify in 6th place. He actually messaged me before the race started. He said, look, I might be slow tonight. Well, only being around about, well, less than half a second, really, or just more than half a second off the top table. In fact, in a difficult qualifying session as it stands, 2 qualifying sessions in a row where it's been absolutely soaked in qualifying. What that means is, if it's a dry race at Silverstone, it means that the drivers can start on any tyre they like. So what is it going to be? You'll see some drivers start on the medium tyres, but Luke, is the hard tyre an option for today?
I'd imagine you'll see the hard tyre more if people are involved in incidents early on and they want to go a long way on the tyres, but Silverstone is an absolute tyre killer. Pirelli bring their 3 hardest tyres, and as we saw at the British Grand Prix this year, you can get punctures if you push them a bit too hard towards the end of the race. And being one of the longest circuits on the Formula 1 calendar, I think it's only Azerbaijan and Spa that are actually longer. As Bottas found out, if you get a puncture early on, it's a long, long way back to the pits. And that's the same for the drivers on lap 1. If they get damage on lap 1, it's a long pit lane to start with, so they might have to make an extra pit stop, and you're going to go a long way round with damage. It's probably race over unless there's a safety car.
Yeah, it's quite misleading because it's one of the shortest pit lanes, but because you take it at such a slow speed, at around about 60 kilometres per hour, it's the slowest, one of the slowest pit lanes if you don't count Monaco, which is even slower going through that Monaco pit lane of 50 kilometres per hour. But Silverstone has such a short or a small speed limit in the pit lane that it feels like it goes on forever. And as you rightly said, Luke, don't want to be pitting in, you don't want to be having as many pit stops as possible because you lose so much time in the pit lane. You were saying about the circuit length. Yes, it's 5.891 kilometres long, and it's one of the longest circuits on the calendar, as you quite rightly said. Bear in mind that, you know, when we get to somewhere like Baku, that's 6.003 kilometres. I mean, Silverstone, with its high-speed corners and long straights, make it seem like it's much shorter than it actually is. But for the tyres, as you rightly said, Luke, it's going to be a little bit of an adventure for them. In terms of Gamer, though, he's put it on pole position position for the British Grand Prix, his second pole position of the season so far, but as Luke rightly pointed out, yet to find a win this season. Could this be the day in front of the British crowd today? Looking at the tyres then, well, it's a pretty yellow wall there as on the board. 13 of the 15 runners are going to be starting on the medium tyres. The exceptions to the rule, Gil, he's trying out the hard tyres to start this race, obviously hoping to try and fend off the opposition from behind. Sam Gamer, meanwhile, in the Alfa Romeo, where he's going onto a set of soft tyres, clearly anticipating an aggressive start all the way through the field. Now, of course, every single driver gets to try on a different tyre, or their tyre they like. Here's the other thing though as well, it's brand new fresh tyres, so let's see how this all goes down. You saw the little logos and graphic at the bottom there coming up with the predicted race strategy. Well, I tell you what, these drivers take one look at that and think, actually I think I can do better than that. They're looking to try and extend this stint, but Luke, where do the medium tyre runners go? Do they go onto the hard tyres? That's surely the only way to go.
I think you've got to try and stretch the mediums and go onto the softs, pitting round about lap 16, lap 17 perhaps, going onto the soft tyres. Gil, he's got to try and go a tiny bit longer and just hope to do the overcut in everything and just have so much better soft tyres than anyone later. Or he's got to hope that Gamer, Blizzard, Dommy, Surface and everyone on the mediums absolutely cook through a set of medium tyres, which could be possible. Track temperatures could be fairly high because it is beautiful conditions here at Silverstone. It's very possible indeed that they might have to go for the medium hards. Gil then can go hard soft and just be a bit quicker at the end of the race. That's going to be something to watch out for. Watch out for Sam on the opening laps with those soft tyres. Can't wait for this race to get underway, and thankfully we haven't got long to wait.
No, we haven't, as Gamer rounds his way around the final corner and making his way on towards the grid now. Of course, his previous best results, well, they're joint really. Second place at Monaco, second place at Austria. Yet to grab the win this season. This could be his best chance to try and grab that win. Blizzard looking for yet another win in the championship. Gil looking for only his second win of the season so far, but don't tell him that because he's currently second in the championship. We are moments away then from the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone. All the way back in 1950 was the very first race of the championship. We come here for the 70th time. It is 5 red lights. And we're racing in Silverstone. What are the starts like? It looks like it's a good start from Blizzard. Gamer's going to have to cover him off then as we make our way in towards the first corner. They're going to run side by side, but Blizzard takes the lead then as we make our way through turn one. Bit of drama in the background there. We've got a racing point that's off the circuit. Looks like it's going to be Speedster who's found his way off the track as we make our way now in towards the loop. Getting on towards Aintree now through that flying left-hander, and it looks like it's a clean start from all involved. As you said there, Gamer is now up to 9th place. He's right on the back of Dario as we make our way on towards Brooklands. He's got the left-hand side line, the inside line. He chucks it down the inside, trying to find a position. That mistake from Johan has pulled him all the way up the positions there. He started that corner in 9th. He's now all the way up to 6th. Fantastic start from the Alfa Romeo driver. Suku as well is up to 10th, but that's Caden Forbes who spun himself around at the old pit lane entry. He's got it all wrong coming out of Luffield there. Did he light up those rear tyres, or was there a little bit of contact? We don't know. It wasn't a great angle that I got it from as we now make our way side by side, going all the way through Maggots and Beckett's once again. Drama at the line here, but relatively clean start from all involved. Yellow flags in Sector 2. That's going to be Caden Forbes in the wall. I wouldn't be surprised if that triggers some sort of full course yellow, and it has. Safety car deployed here at Silverstone. Blizzard then with a flying start. He's taken the lead in towards turn 1. And Luke, how about that for a start?
Yeah, fantastic start from Blizzard. Great driving from some of those as well to work their way up. One of those was Sam Gamer, and he looks as though he's going to be one of the few cars to come into the pits. Both racing points in as well, Aero and Speedster. I wonder if they picked up any damage on lap 1. I wasn't expecting to see too many pit stops because it is a bit early to go onto a set of hard tyres and get those towards the end of the race. Dommy gaining a place as well. Very opportunistic move to get his way past Gil, I must say, as we were coming through the loop and village. It's been a very, very clean start to the race at the front of the field. There were a few bits of contact further back. Don't know whether, like you said, did Caden Forbes, just light up his rear tyres, and then as he was coming round Corps, still with that lack of grip, and it just sent him off towards the barrier. A bit of disappointment for him, and for the other Red Bull as well, actually losing a place on lap 1. This is going to be an interesting restart, I think. They're now able to set the mediums longer. There is no doubt whatsoever. It is a medium soft strategy. I don't think Gil wanted this whatsoever.
No, he didn't. I think he wanted the safety car towards the end of the race to try and get those hard tyres as long into the race as possible, because that now hands the advantage over to the medium tyre runners. They can try and keep their tyres alive a little bit longer in the race to try and make it to the end there and possibly go onto a set of soft tyres. Aero had to come in and replace the front wing. He's back out on a set of medium tyres. Speedster followed him in. He's put on a set of hard tyres. That should take him to the end of the race. And as we already saw, Sam Gamer, after that lightning start, he's decided to ditch the soft tyres altogether, now onto a set of hard tyres. We'll see. They should be able to get them to the end of the race. I mean, Pirelli bring their 3 hardest tyres to this track in order to try and make them withstand the extreme conditions that Silverstone has of these high-speed corners and then long straights, 5.8 kilometres each lap. So it's a huge ask for these tyres, and you've got to try and get a setup that doesn't wear out the tyres too much. Great to see all of you turning out tonight. Let us know who your favourite driver is. Who are the flags flying for tonight? Maybe it's Blizzard to try and grab a win in this season. Maybe you're backing Gamer to try and get his first win of the season. Perhaps it's the championship leader in Domi, or maybe you're thinking about Gil. Speaking of which, he's coming into the pits then. Now, is this going to be medium softs then? Is he going to use all 3 tyres in this race? He's into the pits now.
I mean, that is possible. Another possibility is throw on a set of soft tyres, drive around for a lap, come back into the pits, and put your hard tyres back on. And then just go to the end.
Well, that's a good idea. Well, on go a set of medium tyres, which leads to me believe he's not going to do that. So, well, he'll rejoin towards the back of the pack. Speedster is back into the pits. So he already stopped. He put on a set of hard tyres. So is this going to be a different set of tyres that he's going to try and make work to the end? He's into the pits now then, and on go a set of medium tyres. Interesting call from the American, but he's back out there. He's made a couple of stops now under this safety car and now onto a set of the medium tyres. So that might delay the restart just a little bit, but Blizzard keeping the heat in his tyres there. He now leads the British Grand Prix with Gamer in second, Domi in third. That puts Coutinho now in 4th place with Dario in 5th. Surface running around in 6th place with Johan in 7th. Liam in 8th with Suku 9th, and Deso rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, Deso rounded out the top 10, like you said. His teammate behind him on going for the hard tyre, so Sam is now caught up with the pack, and he's got a few cars ahead of him. It's going to be crucial for him on this set of hard tyres just to try and stay in contact with some of the others in the first few laps, because if he drops out of DRS range, he might struggle ever so slightly. Well, a few people here saying that the medium tyres will get to the end of the race. It's whether they can get to the end with any decent pace. We'll have to wait and see. Gil does quite often prove us wrong, though, and gets the strategy bang on, so it wouldn't surprise me if he has done the same again today. And who knows, with Speedster closing up to the back of the pack, we might get the safety car coming into this lap. We'll have to wait and see if the lights go out, and there we go.
So Blizzard now becomes that safety car in effect as he now controls this pace down the hangar straight. And you can see all 14 drivers left in this race desperately trying to get some heat into the tyres, especially the only hard running tyre now of Sam Gamer, who's looking to try and get those hard tyres to the end of the race. Now, of course, the pit speed limit line is very early in that pit lane entrance, so once the safety car passes that, Blizzard can go at any point. The safety car's now in the pits, so at any point now Blizzard can get this race underway. He's not going to leave it until the last moment. Actually, I think he is, as he now makes his way all the way through Vale and now in towards Club Corner. He's gone for it now as we make our way through that final corner, through Club Corner section. We're back under green flag racing. It's Blizzard who leads once again in the British Grand Prix as he flies his way through the first corner. Gamer in second place, Domi in third, Coutinho fourth, Dario in fifth, as there's a little bit of a gap now between himself and Surface behind. Johan is under pressure from Parnell. Parnell's trying to go round the outside. Suku's having to defend that one. We make our way in towards the loop. The Williams has got the inside line and Parnell gets a position up. Now up into 8th place. He's now got Johan right ahead of him to try and make amends there. Coutinho only 3/10 back from the Haas ahead of him. Meanwhile, Dario is going to try and make life difficult for the Ferrari entirely. Sam Gamer, meanwhile, well, he's going to look after his tyres now to get him to the end of the race. They've got to do a good 20 odd laps before they can get him to the end of the races. So he's got to try and hang on to them and just treat them well. Gil is right behind him though, surely not too wide going in towards Copse Corner. You saw there the Alfa Romeo defending that inside line to begin with. We've got a car wide in the distance, we've got a car wide right in front of us. That's Sam Gamer running a little bit wide on the exit of Copse. Won't be too hard for him to get back onto the track and get back that momentum, but he's just got to keep it careful now because he's got to look after those tyres. He can't run off the track too many times because that can exacerbate the tyre wear. Dario trying to hound in Coutinho once again as they make their way through Stowe. Blizzard coming towards the end of the 4th lap still leads.
That was an absolutely fantastic restart from Blizzard. Anyone watching wants to know how you restart a race at Silverstone. That is how you do it. He got it absolutely perfect. Gill getting ahead of Sam Gamer. Like I said, those hards, you struggle to start with after a safety car to get them up to temperature, as well as the mediums, and he's probably just paying the price for that. A few interesting people saying, with Gill going onto the mediums and Speedster going back onto the mediums, might we see a bit of rain? It looks nice and sunny at the moment, but we've all had experience of how quickly the weather can change at F1 and how quickly the weather can change at Silverstone. Could we see these drivers trying to stretch the mediums out until some rain comes?
Well, that's an interesting idea, isn't it? It's like, as you say, currently it looks quite sunny out there. There are some clouds looming in the distance as Suku runs a little bit deep into Luffield, but that's one of the lines you can take through there to try and prioritise your exit speed coming out of Luffield on the run towards Woodcote and then towards Copse Corner. Let's just ride on board with a dry run through here. Absolutely flat out through there. Just a little lift all the way down to the lower gear range of 8th. As they now fly their way through. Coutinho coming up a 3-second time penalty. That'll be added to the end of his race. In all that as well, Speedster picked up a 5-second stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane on his second run into that pit lane. Deso, meanwhile, has a little bit of racing point behind him and he has a little bit of a Pink Panther. He has to defend the inside line going in towards Stowe Corner. He might run a little wide going in towards the exit, but actually he keeps that all together very well in the Alfa Romeo, and there's no way Aero can find his way through the mass here. DRS is enabled for the first time this race as Blizzard starts the 6th lap. Oh, big oversteer moment from Aero there. Managed to keep a hold of that one, but those rear tyre temperatures might be a little bit high right now. Dario closing in on Coutinho. A bit of a lock-up up ahead for our championship leader in Domi, currently in 3rd place. Dario right on the tail of this Ferrari. Will he get a chance to have a move down the Wellington Straight? Well, Coutinho's got a really good exit. Open goes the DRS on the McLaren, making our way now up towards Woodlands here, Brooklands, going in towards the left-hander. No way through for the McLaren, trying to find a way past. And as you say that, Luke, only about a lap and a half ago, it's starting to get darker here at Silverstone as the cloud cover increases. Have you just cursed this race, Luke?
I might have done. I'm quite good at my curses. The clouds look nice and fluffy like candy floss at the moment. They don't look too threatening, but maybe this will just lower the track temperature ever so slightly and might just help extend the life of the tyres a bit more. They'll be hoping, like I said, the rain comes late enough for those on the medium tyres. Sam Gamer's hoping it doesn't rain whatsoever. He wants to go towards the end. Coutinho had a bit of a bad exit there through Chapel. He picked up a penalty, and there we go. Davio straight forward, makes his way through now up into 4th place. He's going to have to work some to get onto the back of Domi because we've now got a bit of a three-way tussle for the lead of this race. Gamer and Domi closing up to the back of Blizzard. The front three all within a second of each other. Davio trying to see if he can catch up now that he's free of the Ferrari.
Well, we're making our way now through Abbey and then through Farm in that order this time as Blizzard holds on to the lead of this race. Aero, meanwhile, is on the back of Deso as he makes his way on towards that village right-hander here. As Aero looks to try and get up the inside now in towards the loop, and he's dived it up the inside there. Fair play to the Alfa Romeo for seeing him coming, but now he's a little bit exposed to Gill there running in towards Aintree for the 7th time in this race. The AlphaTauri hangs on, but he can't find his way through. AlphaTauri will look up the inside going in towards Brooklands, and just like that, Gill has got the move done this time around. Very aggressive from the Frenchman, but now that's him up to 11th place. He knew he had to take advantage of Deso, who didn't have a great line going through the loop there because Aero had snuck a nose up the inside, and that's a position gain for Aero and a position gain for Gill.
Yeah, very opportunistic from Gill. He saw the opportunity, the door was opened by Aero, and Gill chucked his foot in there. And like you said, fair play to Deso, giving Aero the space to make that move work, because that could have easily ended in contact and sending them both spinning round. And we've seen before, sometimes drivers can be the innocent party in incidents like that. Further back for the battle for 13th place, Speedster using the DRS to get ahead of Sam Gamer as he tries to work his way up through the field. And Speedster, he'll be hoping there's a chance for another pit stop, maybe to serve his penalty. We'll have to wait and see. Him and Coutinho, the only drivers with penalties at the moment. Coutinho in 5th place, dropping back from Dario, but it's not like Surface is hounding him at the moment. He's sort of just on his own for a bit.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit of a relief at that point in the race. However, sometimes you can lull that into a false sense of, oh, I don't need to push right now, I can take it easy. But I can guarantee you these 14 drivers will at no point take it easy in this race, as we ride on board with Parnell as he made his way through Aintree, now on towards Brooklands. That flying left-hander, take as much curb as you can as you now fly your way through. And Parnell just has a lot of confidence in the aero there, making his way through Brooklands, now in towards Luffield and towards Woodcote. Again, right on the tail of Johan. This is not where he pictured being on lap 8 of this race, being in 8th place, but he's got to keep pushing on and try and get as many points as he possibly can. Domi, meanwhile, jumping onto board with the 3rd place man in this race, right on the back of Gamer. And Blizzard's not going anywhere at this moment in time. The 2 drivers behind him are making well sure of that. Domi now with that DRS open. Gamer's got his DRS open as well, so it's unlikely that Domi's going to try a move because he won't be close enough. But I tell you what, both of them working together indirectly to try and help close in on Blizzard. Coutinho as well. Now he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. That will put him well down the order now at this moment in time, especially if there's another full course yellow of some kind towards the end of the race. Lap 9 of the British Grand Prix here in the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League for the PS4. It is Blizzard who leads from Gamer in second. Domi rounding out those podium places.
Yeah, and it's all very even at the moment. We've had 8 laps. We are on to lap 9. There's been a safety car, admittedly, but the entire field only spread out by 8 seconds at the moment. Quite often you see more than an 8-second gap after a few laps, as it looks like Aero's gone for the move that he did on Desso on Suku this time, and it has worked once again. Gil not close enough to take advantage. Now Suku all over the rear wing of that racing point, but it looks as though Aero has got that position done. He works his way up into 9th place, perhaps just using the bit of grip he's got on those slightly fresher medium tyres after pitting under the safety car.
Yeah, it's worked 2 laps in a row for Aero, hasn't it? Now up to 9th place as he climbs his way up the order. Just some of the drivers seem to be so unsuspecting of a move up the inside in towards the loop that they don't defend the inside, and that's where Aero says, thank you very much, I'll take that from you. His next target up ahead is Liam Parnell, who's in a battle of his own in this battle now for what will be 5th place. Coutinho having a load of penalties next to his name at this moment in time, but we've got a 3-way battle for the lead of this race as Gamer has really now closed up onto the back of Blizzard as we fly away through Stowe, down towards Vale, and then in towards this club corner section. Blizzard still leads. Gamer looking for his first win of the season. A little bit of oversteer on the exit there of that part of the club corner section. Might have lost him a little bit of time. 17 to go here at the British Grand Prix as Blizzard leads the way. Gamer second, Domi in 3rd place. Take you through the stops that everybody has had so far. Well, there you can see Aero 1 stop in this race, Gil 1 stop, Speedster 2 stops, and Gamer at the bottom of the field 1 stop. So there you can see a good 10 drivers still need to come in to serve some kind of pit stop. But Domi just looking at that rear wing of Gamer as we now fly away up towards the left-hander of Brooklands. Blizzard still leading the way though.
The Blizzard still leading the way. Surface down the inside at Brooklands on Coutinho. They're going to be side by side all the way through Luffield as well. Who can get the better exit? Who can get the traction? Can Johan maybe get himself involved in this battle between his teammate and the Renault? They're side by side all the way up to Cops. It looks like Surface has got his car ahead. He takes that 5th position. He's now going to see if he can catch up to the leaders, because Dario has pretty much exhausted his electrical energy to try and catch up to Domi, and it's worked. He's got himself within DRS range. Could now see a 4-way battle for the lead. Yeah, really nice move there from Surface as he makes his way now up to 5th place. But now Coutinho has this set off a little bit of a chain reaction, because here comes his teammate Johan. Will he have a look up the inside? No, he can't quite do it because they both had the DRS, and it's always difficult to overtake someone up ahead if they have DRS as well. Meanwhile, we've got Aero here trying to move down the inside of Liam Parnell in towards Vale and now in towards that club corner section, but Aero had to back out of that one. No way through. That Williams is not making that easy whatsoever. Gil, meanwhile, is all over the back of Suku as we make our way towards Abbey for the 11th time in this race. As you saw in the graphic there, just on the right-hand side, the pit window has opened. Aero looking for a move down the inside in towards Village, and Liam Parnell just about does enough to put him off that one. No move up the inside in towards the loop. Meanwhile, Gil is going side by side with Suku as they make their way now through Aintree and down the Wellington Straight. They're going to be side by
outside. DRS wide open for the both of them, but Suku manages to get the run. Gil might have a move up the inside in towards Brooklands. He does. He launches it up the inside, and so confident on the brakes and so confident in the grip he has in that AlphaTauri. He's got the move done. Meanwhile, then Suku's going to lose out to the racing point of Speedster. Now to Deso. So he's had a horrible run through Luffield there. He's lost 3 positions.
Yeah, I think Speedster went for a bit of a late move coming through Luffield, just gave Suku a bit of a tap, and that was enough to send Suku wide and allow Speedster and Deso through as well. And he's got a penalty, so he might just need to calm himself down at the moment and just try and get himself back into action. Gil, very similar to the moves we've seen Aero pulling off, just had a gap as he was coming through the loop, straight down the inside, takes that 10th position, works his way up into the points. It's definitely getting duller still around this circuit. The bits of blue sky are becoming less and less, but it's not like it looks as though it's going to start raining any moment soon. It looks cloudy but fairly bright, you've got to say, out there at this moment in time, and the field still staying close together. We'll soon start getting to the point where those hards on Sam Gamer will be feeling better than those on the medium tyres, especially those that started on the mediums, and he can maybe try and work his way up the order.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how this race develops. Meanwhile, Johan here, you can just see in those rear view mirrors that Parnell is all over the back of him right now. Johan will be trying to look to get past his teammate. Now, interestingly, there's no team orders going on at Ferrari. Coutinho is able to hold his position even with those penalties, and Johan will have to try and pass him out on track. Aero, meanwhile, well, we've already seen him try moves up the inside here, there and everywhere. Going into Luffield and going in towards the loop. 2 big overtaking opportunities for Aero, and those guys have to make sure that they're well aware of that racing point right behind them. He's not afraid to try and move up the inside. If he notices there's a gap, Aero is going to go for it. Domi, meanwhile, 3rd place right now as he tries to chase down the race leader in Blizzard. He's got CRG Gamer right in front of him. I'll get those 2 mixed up, I'll guarantee you. But Gamer for CRG is 2nd place in this race, making his way down the hangar straight, still within 0.4 of a second of Blizzard up ahead. But he really does want this first race win in AOR Season 20, doesn't he, Luke? He can taste it at the moment.
Yeah, he can. Like I said, there's still a long way to go. 14 laps at the end of this one as they do start lap 13. He's got a lot more ERS than Blizzard. He's on about 40% more. Maybe he's been saving a bit of fuel as well. You don't want to get too close behind the car in front. We all know that the dirty air effect is a bit worse on this game. It's a bit more realistic, so you heat your tyres up a bit more, you start sliding, and that is why more often than not you do see these half-a-second gaps. Blizzard is about half a second ahead of Gamer. Gamer's just over half a second ahead of Domi. Further down the field, Coutinho and Johan just under half a second, and it makes it a bit tricky to overtake. I'd say normally we'd see an undercut from these guys to try and get the advantage on the strategy, but they're going to want to stay out as long as possible because it does look like we are going to see some rain at some point in this race. But will it be late enough that these guys can get the medium tyres? Well, will it come early enough, that these guys can get to medium tyres to that point? Because if it's around like 20 or 21, they're really going to be struggling on these mediums. They might have to make a pit stop just to avoid getting a puncture, and then any chance of the race victory could go out the window. Yeah, of course, that comes as a point, because if they use the dry tyres, well, they have to then use another set of dries. Meanwhile, then there goes Gamer up the inside of Blizzard on the entrance in towards Stowe. Gamer then takes the lead of the British Grand Prix. Then Blizzard will surely fight this one back. Gamer going defensive in towards the entrance of Vale and holds on to the lead of the race then. So Gamer now leads as we head towards the halfway mark in this British Grand Prix. Gil, meanwhile, battling alongside Liam Parnell, but Gil can't find his way through. 10th place right now, stopped early in this race, and there goes the American of Speedster there, and Gil being very aggressive on the steering there, making our way now in towards Abbey, and now through Farm. He's having to switch to the right hand side. They've come together again, Speedster and Gil both onto the grass, both taking out the brake markers there, and they're going side by side through there. Suku manages to slip his way through. Now Gil is all the way down the order. Sam Gamer fancies his chances, gets that move done. Remember, he's trying to get those hard tyres to the end of the race. Gil moves ahead of the American of Speedster, but he's fallen all the way down to 13th. That was all just a bit unnecessary, and these two have previous, of course. They came together on the final lap in Azerbaijan. Gil feels that Speedster's move cost him a victory, and in the end the stewards decided there was no further action. That all started from Gil going for a move, a very brave move round the outside of Vale into onto the back of Liam. Didn't pay off in the end, and that allowed Speedster to get the move done. And then you've just seen they've come together They've dropped a long way down the order. Now they're going to have to try and fight their way firstly past Sam Gamer, who I think is going to be a very tricky character to pass in the next few laps.
Yeah,
on these hard tyres, as it is definitely now a lot more overcast than it was earlier. These clouds looking very threatening. We don't know how long it's going to be. Jeff will be giving them ideas of how long it's going to be, but who knows when it's going to rain? We won't know really until we see the drops come in. Gamer leading the race, 7 tenths ahead of Blizzard.
Yeah, that's exactly where he wanted to be, trying to get his first race win of the season as well. Blizzard and Domi looking to try and chase down several wins in this one. Blizzard has, I believe, 3 wins now. So too does Domi, and they're both the most successful drivers in terms of wins. And you've got Gil, who's now down in 13th place. Well, he's only had 1 win next to his name, but he's only 15 points off the championship lead. It shows how consistent his results have been, but obviously 13th place offers no points whatsoever in this race, so he's got to try and get back up the order. He's passed Speedster, but he lost 2 positions doing that, and he'll have to try and fight his way back up the order. Johan, meanwhile, right behind his teammate in Kugillo. Aero now picks up 3 seconds worth of time penalties, and of course he's been very aggressive in this race in making his moves, and he's seen a gap and thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick a nose in there and see how you react. Unfortunately, he's got 3 seconds worth of penalties now. That'll be added to the end of his race. Johan, meanwhile, is closing in on his teammate ahead as Speedster now picks up 3 seconds worth of penalties as Kugillo gets a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit of Beckett's there. Now going down the hanger straight, Kugillo's got a little bit of DRS, so that could help him try and defend from his teammate as Johan turns down his ERS. He knows he can't quite find that move past. Here goes Suku then up the inside of Deso, and Suku gets the move done. He's now up to 10th place.
Yes, up to 10th place for Suku. Back out in front, Dario in 4th place at the moment. He's just hanging off the back of this train of Gamer, Blizzard and Domi. I wonder if Dario just maybe took a bit too much out of his tyres trying to catch up to these drivers, and now he's struggling more to sort of stay with them. We'll have to wait and see. He'll be hoping. They'll all be hoping now. Everyone that started on the medium tyres will be thinking, just please start raining now. And this strategy has worked out absolutely brilliant for us. Sam Gamer's thinking, just hold off towards the end of the race and I've got an absolutely beautiful opportunity of my first points in AOR F1 being a victory. Still a long way to go. Still 10.5 laps remaining. I'm not quite sure which way this one's going to go. It's out of our hands. It's in the hands of the Codemasters weather gods at this moment.
And of course, it's in the hands of the British weather as well. So you might as well just write a piece of paper, write on a piece of paper and throw it out the window, because that's as much use as a prediction's going to be at this point. Aero, though, is on the back of Johan, and you can see Kugillo is trying to stay within that second of surface, and he's doing it at the moment. And is this costing Johan time? The fact that he has to battle for this position and Kugillo is not going to go into team orders, is this helping or hindering the Frenchman of Johan as we now fly away down the hanger straight and towards Stowe through that flying right-hander? Gamer, though, is just about half a second ahead of Blizzard as they now all file their way through in towards that final corner. Lap 17, 10 to go here at Silverstone, and those grey clouds are forming over the circuit. Rain could be on the horizon, but of course it's always worse when the rain hits and it's not quite enough for those intermediate tyres. What I was going to say about 3 or 4 laps ago before I interrupted myself was, if there's a point in this race where it starts raining but drivers feel they can get to the end on their slick tyres and it's not enough for intermediate conditions, well, the 2 compound rule still applies. So those on the medium tyres, those that started on the medium tyres, might be in a spot of bother at that point. Here comes Aero, though. He's looking on the back of Johan, going up towards Brooklands. We've seen this before, plenty of times in this race before from the racing point, and that is Aero now up to 7th place. That new rig doesn't look too bad at all now, does it?
No, he's doing very well. I bet he wishes he'd gotten it a bit earlier, maybe not waited for Black Friday, but you can't really blame him for that. I was going to say, this is definitely the weather where your mum tells you to take a jacket with you and you ignore her and you come back a couple of hours later absolutely drenched, and she's just stood there going, I told you so, I told you so. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for these guys. If it does start raining, they're on really old slick tyres now. They're definitely past their best, and drivers like Aero, Gil and Speedster might be in a bit of a better situation, as Aero here straight past Kugillo. Look how easily he's made that, and you think Johan might be sitting behind thinking, why couldn't I do that? Straightforward for Aero. He's now up behind his Shazoo teammate of Surface. made that look easy. That might just be the fresher tyres, as we have got rain. I am seeing drops on the camera.
Yep, it is starting to rain at Silverstone as Aero just puts in the fastest lap of the race. Why not there? 27.1 from Aero now makes him the fastest man out on track, and no surprises there with those 2 overtakes of the Ferraris, which puts him now up into 6th place. Now the waiting game becomes the real game. Who is going to be the first to blink to go onto those intermediate tyres? When does the DRS get disabled as the ideal time to pit in to get rid of your slick tyres? Well, the pressure is surely on Gamer. You don't want to be leading a race in a scenario like this because it's you who has to make the call. At least if you're a car behind, you can react to the car ahead about what they're doing, and it gives you some sort of idea. But Gamer could be left stranded out on circuit there if that's the case. Meanwhile, Geel is trying to find a way past Sam Gamer. Now they're going through Woodcote, and Geel has got the move done. He's now up to 12th place. His next target will be Desso as we now fly away in through Copse Corner. And this becomes a time of bravery. How hard do you push? Is Copse going to be as he was on the previous lap? Will you be able to take enough speed through there? Here comes Blizzard, meanwhile, going down towards Stowe Corner. Not quite close enough to try and move down the inside, but you can see already different lines being taken. Gamer and Blizzard straight into the pits. Domi and Dario react too. So it's going to be a very, very crowded pit lane. They feel it's time.
I think everyone could be diving into the pits here, apart from maybe Johan, because he's got to... Johan and Liam are waiting because of obviously the double stack. I was just checking for sector times. Sector 1 last lap, Gamer set pretty much an identical time to the lap before. Sector 2, he was 1.4 seconds slower. So I'm not sure whether we're at that crossover point yet, but it's definitely coming.
Well, DRS is now disabled, so that's your indication that it is the crossover, and Johan and Parnell have to go 5.8 kilometres on slick tyres on a changing track that's going to be falling away from them. Gamer will come down the longest timed pit lane you can imagine, but now re-emerges then in 3rd place with the only 2 drivers ahead of him on the slick tyres. So Domi's rejoined in 4th, Dario in 5th. Williams have had a nightmare because Blizzard's now come out in 6th place. He will be furious with that one. Service rejoins in 7th place. Coutinho rejoins in 8th. Desso in 9th. Suku rounds out the top 10. And Aero, after all that hard work, re-emerges in 11th place. He's got to do it all over again.
Another driver who had a nightmare was Geel, because he got held up by Speedster, who was getting held up by Aero. So Geel had an absolute nightmare of a pit stop. He's a long way off the back at this moment in time. I'm just going on board with Johan. It looks like they're driving on ice. There is no doubt whatsoever. You need to be on the intermediate tyres at the moment. Gamer, he's called it absolutely perfectly. I think everyone, like you said, just follows what the leader does in that situation. Surprised it worked out that bad, though, for Blizzard. He just got held up being at the end of the pit lane, waiting for everyone else to come by. He's now in 4th position. He was right on the back of Blizzard going into the pits. He's now 4.5, 5 seconds behind, and it looks like he might miss out on a podium. For Johan and Liam, they're going to be dropping right down towards the back of the field.
They are indeed, and for Johan and Parnell, that will just be a nightmare for them. They now get their way towards the pit lane as Johan and Parnell pit from what was 1st and 2nd place, but where they'll re-emerge is going to be much further down the order. What that means is then Gamer will take the lead of this race once again, tiptoeing his way through that final corner, and we crossed the line then, lap 20 of 26. We have 7 to go here at Silverstone. Gamer now leads. He is only 7 laps away from potentially taking his first win this season. To put that into context then, you're looking at around about 42 kilometres to go for Gamer to try and wrap up this first victory. Domi and Dario and Blizzard are not going to make this easy whatsoever. Domi's looking for another win this season, and of course to try and extend his lead in the championship. He will be doing that with this 2nd place, but we all know Domi, he'll want that 1st place more than ever. Dario rounding up the top 3 right now, and he's had good pace all race. He's been a little bit silent going all the way through, but he's kept in that top 4, and Luke's already alluded that he's had good pace so far. Now he's up to 3rd. What can he do from here?
Yes, what can he do from here? Should that be straightforward? Obviously, everyone getting towards the end of the race. It doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere near heavy enough rain to need the wet tyres whatsoever. Domi will be fairly happy with how this race is going. He's in 2nd place at the moment, and I know you said he'd want that win. Geel's down in 12th position at the moment. He's only a second off the points, but he's 4.5 seconds off of Aero in 9th place. So you'd imagine that 10th place is the best Geel he's going to do. He's outscoring Blizzard. This is a very healthy day for Domi at the moment, even if he does just manage to stay in second position. Andy's going to have to push quite hard to catch up to Gamer, 1.5 seconds. And to do the overtake, you've got to do it without DRS, of course.
Absolutely, no DRS, but plenty of ERS harvesting as Giel is going to demonstrate for us. He's on the back of Parnell heading in towards Stowe Corner, and of course you use less ERS in these wet conditions because in theory there's less acceleration points, if you like, so you get to harvest that ERS a little bit more in these trickery, slippery conditions. Yep, that's what we're going with. Gamer still leads the way though. Domi in second, Dario third, Blizzard in fourth, and it looks like it's spacing out a little bit between the top four. Deso, meanwhile, is being reeled in by Suku. I have to say, Deso in this race has been in and around that 10th place spot, but now he finds himself in a position where he's got a chance of decent points on the board. I mean, he started 3 races so far this season. 2 of them have been 10th places. He could be on for his best finish of the season at this rate.
And he's kept it clean. Some of those drivers around him haven't. Carino has 12 seconds of penalty. Suku has 6. Aero has 3. It's not looking too bad at the moment for Deso. You've got to say he could finish in 6th position. Any higher than that, I think it's going to need some mistakes, probably from surface, or a big mistake from anyone a long way up the field. Like you said, a very, very tidy performance from Deso at the moment. He's going to have Suku, though, and maybe Aero putting him under pressure soon. And we already know Aero's not afraid of going for a move down the inside, even when you think the door is closed. A lot of battles aren't looking too close at the moment, but look as though they could spray into something into the final 5 laps, and that's how it is at the front of the field. Gamer just over a second ahead of Domi, who is 1.5 ahead of Dario, and Blizzard trying to close onto the back of Dario, trying to get his Williams on the podium.
Less than 30 kilometres to go, and if you want the actual one, it's 5 laps to go here in Silverstone. Gamer leads the way then. Domi is in second place, Dario third, with Blizzard rounding out that top 4. You can see the umbrellas all the way around Silverstone now being deployed, as that's the best tactical decision by the crowd that's ever seen. Blizzard in 4th place trying to chase down Dario. We've also got this battle for the last points paying position. Johan, Liam and Giel all battling away for 10th place. They're all within 2 seconds of each other, and don't forget that battle for 7th place of Suku is reeling in that Alfa Romeo ahead. Sam Gamer picks up a 3-second time penalty. That'll be added to the end of his race. 13th at the moment. There was a real chance that he could have a chance of that race win, but unfortunately the hard tyres have not been kind to him this time around. The weather at Silverstone has not been kind to him, and unfortunately his gamble to go onto the hard tyres has not paid off, and the gamble to go onto the medium tyres really has paid off. And it came almost at the point there where drivers had to start thinking about binning off those medium tyres and going onto the softs for a couple of laps just to make sure that they meet the quota if it was a dry race throughout. Meanwhile, Aero is trying a move on Suku, and he was trying to go on the outside of Cop's Corner. I don't think he meant that, but that's how it turned out. But he's right on the back of Suku. Now he could try and move on Deso as well as we file our way in towards that right-hander of Brooklands, now through Chapel and down the Hangar Straight. Once again, Suku is doing everything he can to try and close in on Deso, but he's got to be careful about Aero behind him. He's reinvigorated by that new rig that he has. Suku dips a wheel onto the curb there, and that paint sends him in a little bit of a wheel spin moment, able to recover from it though, running aboard with that front wing of the Renault, taking us through Vale and towards Club Corner, onwards towards that start-finish line. 4 to go here at Silverstone in these trickery conditions now, and it's Gamer who still leads the way by a healthy 1.2 seconds. Blizzard meanwhile is slowly reeling in the McLaren for this 3rd place.
Yeah, he is trying to catch up, but it's very interesting what you said. We were getting towards the point where the tyres, those who started on the mediums, would have been thinking about pitting. If it wasn't for that safety car, they'd have been in deep, deep trouble, and Giel would have probably been looking absolutely fantastic on those hard tyres. It's not worked out that way. Just small margins change everything. Giel's currently down in 12th place, battling for what is currently the final points, but with Suku having 6 seconds of penalties and Aero having 3 seconds, who knows? These guys, Johan, Liam and Giel, if they gain a bit on Aero at the moment, could end up finishing in 8th, 9th and 10th and could all pick up some points. It's going to be close at the end of the race. Does look as though Gamer and Domi are getting away from Dario, who will now be taking all his attention onto just keeping Blizzard behind and just holding on to that final podium slot.
Yeah, and he'll be looking for that podium as well. Of course, Dario in the table, 6th place in the championship, 1 win to his name this season. That came at the Spanish Grand Prix earlier on this year, but only 2 podiums from the McLaren so far this season. What a way to get a podium in front of McLaren's home fans for Dario. This could be a huge moment for him to try and boost his way up the table. Deso, meanwhile, still being hounded by a Renault of Suku and a Racing Point of Aero, but you see Deso doesn't have any penalties. 12 seconds of penalties for Coutinho. You can just see by the driver's name now who has the penalties and how much they have. That's going to be added to the end of their race. And for Coutinho, well, he's not got a lot of hope with 12 seconds next to his name of keeping hold of 6th place. He might find himself outside of the top 10 if that's the case, but Deso at the moment still hanging on to what is at the moment 7th place. And Speedster comes into the pit lane to retire the car, so the American will not see the checkered flag. He's called it a night on lap 24.
Yes, fed up of driving around on his own at the moment. He just didn't seem to have the pace tonight that we've seen from him in earlier races, which is a shame for him. We're down to 13 runners and still CRG Gamer in the lead by a second. And I don't know whether Blizzard's made a slight mistake on that lap, because he does look to have dropped back ever so slightly from Dario, which will be music to the ears of the McLaren driver. This battle between Deso, Suku and Aero is definitely just allowing Johan, Liam and Gil to catch up, and like we said, the penalties will play a factor, and I don't think Coutinho is going to score any points at the end of this. As it stands at the moment, all the drivers behind him, I think apart from some Gamer, will jump ahead.
Well, the only thing he can hope for is if there's a huge battle for 7th place, which is what's developing right now, as Suku there was right on the back of Deso, but he had a little bit of a poor line going in towards going through Beckett's there, and that cost him a chance to try and get past that Alfa Romeo as we now get in towards the penultimate lap of this race as Gamer leads the way. He's only now just a few kilometres away from a potential first race win here this season for the Red Bull. If I said that enough times, I feel like I haven't. We're on to the lap 25 now, and Suku wants to get past this Alfa Romeo, but it comes to a point where he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. Even if he does get past Deso at this point, it's going to be very unlikely that he keeps a hold of that position.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's going to be quite tough indeed. I mean, Aero is all over the back of Suku at the moment. They're just trying different lines, and it's just not trying to work out. Deso doing a great job of soaking up all the pressure, and likewise Suku. And then further back, Johan, it's not like Liam and Gil have really looked close to even putting a move on him at the moment. Just handling everything at the moment. Supreme skill under pressure from these drivers. This is what you'd expect. They're in the top tier of AOR. You're going to expect some fantastic driving. We've seen that throughout the field, really, so far tonight. It's been fairly clean. There may have been some incidents with Caden that we didn't see off screen, because we did see him spin around at the start. Who knows if something happened there. On the whole, it's been very clean at the moment, and whisper it looks like we're going to have a new winner this season. Gamer heading around the final corners to start his final lap and take 25 points.
Yeah, as he now tiptoes his way through and around the final corner. Once he crosses the line, there'll be 5.8 kilometres of this race to run. Translation, we're on to the final lap of the British Grand Prix here in Apex Online Racing, Hype Energy F1 PS4. And this is a huge moment for Gamer as he now tries to tiptoe his way one more time around Silverstone, in front of the home fans as well in that Red Bull, as he now tries to get his way in through Aintree, now down the Wellington Straight. He's got Domi behind him, but 1 second behind is the Haas driver. I think Domi will be happy with second place. He'll want the win, of course. He always wants to win as a driver, as Gil picks up 3 seconds worth of penalties there, so that's going to cost any chance of him getting some decent points in this race, as Deso has had a moment going in towards that's Village there, and Deso finds himself all the way around, still not out of the woods yet, because there's a lot of drivers with penalties ahead of him. Keep his head down and he should be able to recover going in towards the final lap, but that's released Aero, and to try and get his way up the order, he's got 1 lap to extend his lead by about 2 seconds, so it's going to be tough for him. Meanwhile, Gamer is making his way onwards through Maggots, through Beckett's, through Chapel and down the Hangar Straight, as he's extended his lead on Domi in that final sector. Now the gap is up to 1.1. There is Blizzard in the background still trying to chase down Dario for that 3rd place, but Gamer here coming around the final couple of corners. It was 3rd place at the French Grand Prix. It was 2nd place at the Austrian Grand Prix. As he rounds the final couple of corners, he's going to complete the pattern with a win at Silverstone, his 1st race win of the season. A fantastic drive from the Red Bull driver to take the win in a soggy Silverstone. Domi finishes in 2nd place and extends his championship lead, and Dario in the McLaren gets a podium. His third podium of the season there. Great result from Dario in the McLaren. Blizzard finishes in 4th place there, and here comes the shuffle. Here comes Aero across the line. Coutinho's already finished the race, so Aero bumps up to 6th, but that's not going to stay there for long, as there's all sorts of shuffling going on at the back there. We'll confirm those results on the results screen, but it is a win for Gamer, for CRG as well. It's a first win for him. Dario picking up the driver of the day as voted for by the in-game fans. And of course, you always want to get your first race win of the season. A little bit of a dance, a little bit of a jig. Why not? You've saved your first win of the season for your home fans. And Gamer is a race winner in AOR.
Yeah, he'll be absolutely delighted with that result. Domi working his way up into 2nd after starting 4th on the grid, and Dario, a fantastic performance in the first stint. He got ahead of Coutinho. He worked his way up to the back of these guys. He was rewarded with 3rd place. Regarding with the incident with Deso, I think there was contact with Suku. Suku had a broken front wing on that lap and dropped behind a few cars. So, shame for Deso in the end that he got spun round. He still managed to finish in 9th place, and well done to Coutinho as well. Despite those penalties, 1st points of the season.
Yeah, and here are your official, unofficial results then for the British Grand Prix in Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the PS4. It is Gamer from pole to the win, but it's never as easy as that. He takes his first race win of the season. Domi in 2nd place, with Dario rounding out the top 3. It's Blizzard in 4th, Surface 5th, with Aero finishing in 6th place, Johan in 7th, Coutinho 8th, Deso in 9th after that late light drama. Still his best finish of the season. Parnell in 10th, with Gil outside of the top 10. Sam Gamer in 12th, Suku 13th, Speedster and Caden Forbes did not finish this race, as Caden Forbes retired due to crash damage. That was at Copse Corner. Meanwhile, Speedster decided to retire on his own accord in the pit lane. Well, I tell you what, British Grand Prix don't come much better than that. Rain affected, we saw a race winner for the first time of the season at his home Grand Prix. We've seen a championship lead get extended ever further, as that is Domi who tries to tighten his grip on that championship. We're now through the halfway point. Luke, how about that for a race?
Yeah, that wasn't bad whatsoever, was it? It all went fantastically well for Gamer. Turned out to be fairly, well, as straightforward as it can be in wet conditions towards the end of that race for Gamer. He managed to do the overtake on Blizzard, and that worked out perfectly well for him in the dry conditions. Of course, Blizzard then getting held back in the pits. He might feel a bit robbed of a potential podium. 4th place, though, still not a bad result for him. Like you said, Domi extending his championship lead at the moment, still over Gil at this moment in time, but it is now, all of a sudden, it's up to 33 points. I think that's the biggest lead we've seen all season. He'll be feeling very happy indeed.
Yeah, that's a compliment to the drivers and how close it's actually been in this season, that it's been that close for so long. For it to be the biggest margin now is quite something. Hopefully, Luke, we'll be able to have a chat with our top 3 drivers, or at least some of our top 3 drivers. Of course, it's a huge, huge moment for Gamer. Hopefully, we get to have a chat with him before we go off the air. But, I mean, Luke, we were expecting that rain. It came, and for those running on the medium tyres that started on the medium tyres, it was perfection for timing.
Yeah, the game obviously helps you out. If anyone here hasn't played the F1 games, in qualifying you get told roughly what the weather's going to be like at 3 different points in the race. At the start, 20 minutes in, and 45 minutes in. So there's seen rain there. Then you get the strategy screen, which gives you a bit more detail, gives you about 6 or 7 segments that it splits the race into. It's not that accurate, though. Sometimes the rain can come a lot earlier, sometimes it can come a lot later. We saw most of the field go for the medium tyres, which all now makes perfect sense. We would have expected a bit more of a mix of strategies, and it did work out well. All those top 3, it worked out fantastically. You just have to wonder, though, if there hadn't have been that early safety car, they'd have done more laps on their tyres, and they'd have done the laps at a quicker pace. They might have been in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, and that meant that rain would have come later in the race, quote unquote, in terms of lap time. However, we are getting some of the drivers into the box then. So first of all, you might as well say a big congratulations to Gamer. He joins us in the commentary box here. Obviously, it's I asked him last week if the pattern was going to be completed at Silverstone. Well, he's 3rd at the French Grand Prix, 2nd in Austria. He's won the British Grand Prix. Gamer, congratulations on your first win of the season. Talk us through that race. That looked immense.
Yeah, I mean, completely unexpected, really. didn't really have the pace in the little practice I managed to do, but the wet qualifying was quite nice. I don't know, I seemed to go quite well in intermediate conditions, so that was good. But yeah, I genuinely didn't think I'd have the pace in the dry, at least against like Blizzard and stuff. But yeah, it all felt pretty well. I mean, I passed Blizzard because obviously when you sat behind you can save a lot of ERS, so I saved a lot of ERS and then passed him. And then the way he got held in the pits when it started raining was pretty much perfect for me to create a gap, and then I was just sort of pushing in the last few laps to keep Domi behind, keep the gap to Domi. So yeah, very unexpected, but I'll definitely take it. Yeah, things seem to be going well at the moment. So
yeah, and 25 points onto your total right now will take you up to, as long as my math is correct, 107 points. Obviously, a race win under your belt now as we head towards the next round at Zandvoort. You must be on a high now, heading towards the 13th round.
Well, yeah, I mean, the next race will be...
I do realise that, yeah, because I can't see green from blue. That's my problem. So, but yes, yeah, Hungary, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's very technical, so I'm not going to make any predictions because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. Everything that I think is going to happen doesn't happen most of the time. So, but yeah, I mean, the form's good, and hopefully we can carry it on into the next few races of the season.
And I'll hand over the mic to Luke, 'cause I'm sure he's got a couple of questions as well.
Yes, about the strategy then, we saw yourself and most of the field go for the medium tyres at the start of the race. If there hadn't been the safety car, do you think it would have been pretty close getting those mediums to a point where you could have hit the changeover with the intermediates?
I think they were okay. I think when I pit they were in the 50s or something like that. So they definitely could have done, a fair few more laps, but I wasn't really paying too much attention to that. When I initially saw the rain in the last two blocks at the start on the grid, my instant sort of reaction was mediums, because I'm pretty sure they can do the majority of the race anyway, and the hards are just really slow. So yeah, mediums was definitely the best call. And I think, yeah, without the safety car, I think we still would have managed to make to the rain.
And again, your form was it's come on fantastically ever since that pole position at Monaco. Before then, you hadn't finished inside the top four. Since then, you haven't finished outside the top four. There's still 10 races to go. Do you think you've got chances to pick up more victories as the season goes on?
If you'd have asked me this a couple of races ago, I'd have said probably not. But I mean, yeah, the way it's going at the moment, there's definitely opportunities, and you never know what's going to happen in any of the races. So we take it one race at a time. But yeah, it's definitely looking good at the moment, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, well, congrats on the pole position and a fantastic victory.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll leave you alone now so you can actually properly celebrate your victory. Congratulations, gamer, and we will see you next week at Hungary and not the Netherlands. I'll make sure I book the right flight. But we'll go on to our next driver. I don't think we have Domi in the box at the moment, do we, Luke? I haven't seen him enter yet.
No, we don't. I think he's a bit scared of our commentary box because we tried and invited him last week, and
yeah, I think he's scared of me.
Of it.
I think he's scared of me. So we'll move on to our third place driver in Dario. Dario, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Dario? Well, it sounds a bit loud. I'll try one more time. Dario, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, you can hear it. Right, okay. It's very, very... I don't know what it is. I think it's your PS4 in the background there that's very loud. If we can bring a mic closer to you.
Yeah, a little bit strange.
It is very strange. So we'll keep this short then. Obviously a podium for you. That must be a good feeling.
Yeah. My race was really, really difficult because my lap in wet quali was really, really bad because I really battled my last shot, and P9 on the grid it will be a really, really hard race. But with some lucky and with some overtakes, I push every I can. And with Kieran, with Coutinho, I really lost sometimes, like 2 seconds from the blizzard. And yeah, at this point I have a few errors but not so much. My pace in the not in the wet condition, but in the fuck.
Gotta apologise for that one.
Yeah, I want to say that my pace in the
intermediates.
Yeah, in intermediates was really bad, but my pace in general was not really competitive because I really have low practice because I have I don't have so much time because I have to move to my home to other, and I don't really have so much time. But the race was really good.
Well, good stuff. Yeah, I'll hand over the mic to Luke because I'm sure he's got a couple of questions for you.
Congratulations on the podium, Dario. How crucial was it that you got past Coutinho when you did to then catch up to the top three?
Yeah, really crucial because I lost so much time behind Coutinho, and I don't expect that I am available to catch up the drivers in front, and I was pretty happy with this few laps that I catch up the drivers in front. I don't expect this.
Well, a good job from yourself today. Congrats on the podium.
Yeah, thank you.
And very well done for you, Dario. Good luck in Hungary. We hope to see you then.
Yeah, really difficult track. I think that I have no practice on F1 2020 Hungary, so yeah, it's really difficult for me. But yeah, we see that we can do.
Well, I mean, hopefully you put some practice in before the race next week, but hopefully we'll see you on the track and maybe back in the podium interviews as well. But thank you very much for joining us, Dario. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Well, Luke, I had to say, Dario, could we just ask you to mute your mic, if possible, or leave the party? There's a lot of feedback going on.
My mic was really bad at the moment.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to ask you to either leave the party or mute, because otherwise we'll get a lot of feedback. But thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the feedback is gone. Oh, it is gone. Okay, sorry. That was a bit of a weird one. We do have to apologise for the language there. We'll send a bar of soap to Dario's way as well. But Luke, I have to say, what a race we had tonight, and it sets it up perfectly for Hungary, which is more commonly known as Monaco without the barriers. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I'm guilty myself of using that name. I think there's a bit more high speedness at Hungary than there is at Monaco. At Monaco, it's all about slow, twisty corners. At Hungary, it's really that final sector where it's more, or the middle sector, I should say, is more medium speed corners. It's got that name because you need a lot of downforce on your car to be successful around there. It's another race where you can quite often see weather play a factor, and in terms of qualifying being important, it is a bit like Monaco. The only chance you have got of making any overtakes are really into turn one with the DRS, and that carries all the way up through the first sector. Should be a very interesting race, and I think there's a few drivers that will be hoping for a better race than what they had tonight.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for watching along with us. We peaked, I believe, at about 150 people watching on, so thank you very much for joining us. We hope to see you at the Hungarian Grand Prix next time around for another night of very good racing. I hope you will join us from then. Of course, as well, our thoughts go out to Romain Grosjean, who's currently still, we believe, in the Bahrain Medical Centre being treated there. So all the best goes to him after his terrifying crash at the Bahrain Grand Prix earlier today. And of course, as we round off to the end of the stream, please look after yourselves in this crazy world we live in right now. And I hope to see you again. We hope to see you again next week. Myself and Luke Etheridge, our Twitters are in the description box down below if you want to give us a follow, and hopefully give the channel a subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another race again. Don't forget, we've got AOR races going on PC and Xbox as well tonight, so don't forget to give those a check out as well, and don't forget to give them a little bit of support as well. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I've been Kieran McGinley.
I've been Luke Etheridge.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.